Right. Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for joining the call. Um, Hi, Shivajyoti. Okay. So we'll get started. So I just wanted to quickly have a session to talk through about some of my experiences and my journey through the real estate career, and wanted to share some information about eXp as well. So throughout this session, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat message. So we will go through the questions at the end of this call. Right. So a quick snippet about myself. I did my master's from Texas A&M College Station. Uh, I did my master's in industry engineering. At that time, A&M was top 10 engineering schools in the US. So once I completed my master's, I worked in the corporate industry for quite some time. I worked for several Fortune 500 companies, Deloitte, Amazon, Expedia, and so on. And I started my real estate career in 2017, July of 2017. And I was working with Amazon at that time. So I was doing Amazon as well as real estate. For 4 years, I did that. And then I became a full-time realtor from 2021 onwards. In 2024, for the year 2024, I was rated number one realtor in the US, actually worldwide. eXp has presence in about 50 or 60 countries. And this is based on sales volumes, like how much sales volumes we do. There are about roughly 90,000 realtors in eXp, and they look at all the sales volumes across, and they do the ratings. And I was also a top three realtor consistently in 2022, 2023. So since I joined eXp, I think in the last 3 or 4 years, they started the ratings. And I was the only realtor who made it to top three consistently in the last few years since they started the ratings. In terms of volumes, I closed about 1,000 plus transactions so far, 1 billion in sales volumes. And of course, I have 8 years of real estate experience. And, and eXp also does something called Icon Agent. So you have to do a certain number of transactions to be able to become Icon Agent. And there are certain perks to it. We'll talk about it in the next few slides. So I was consistently Icon Agent every year and averaging about like 100 plus transactions, every year is where, we have been able to do so far. I quickly wanted to talk through about what has really helped me in my real estate career. Are you guys able to see my screen okay? I just want to make sure nothing is blocking the screen.
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, fabulous. So the things that really helped me personally, I will quickly walk through the top things. The first one is customer first, right? So what does that mean, right? So I always like to think about what is most beneficial for the customer first, and I always advise them based on what is best for them. As real estate agents, there are many situations where we could benefit more than the customer based on the advice we give to them. For example, just this morning, I got a call from a longer term customer, and he was talking about this AI and how it will impact the tech jobs, and he has multiple properties in Washington. And of course, everybody is panicking, right? Hey, the market will crash and go down and all of that. And he was asking me what is his opinion. Should he keep his properties, sell his properties, all of that, right? So as a real estate agent, obviously it is beneficial for us if he sells the properties. But that's not what I told him. I told him objectively, like what he should think about, right? So I told him about every property that he has, what are the pros and cons of selling versus keeping, and I also told him to look at the data, analyze what he wants to do, and also I told him that he should also think about what he plans to do with the money that he gets, right? If he's able to get something better or improve, get more returns from his investment, whatever he's planning on doing, then that's another factor I wanted him to consider. So I gave him a subjective analysis of everything based on the property, because he has different properties. One has the capital gain tax still, that benefit, the 3-year benefit. So I wanted him to look at the capital gain tax benefit he will get what is the amount if he sells now versus wait, gave him all the analysis of each and every property and asked him to figure out what makes more sense for him. So what this means is that, I may lose some deals through the process. I'll tell you, I have lost a lot of deals when I advise people what is best for them, because, sometimes immigration visa requirements and changes happen and people may not buy, right? So if I have had situations where the customer was very interested to buy a property, everything aligned and they were ready to place an offer. And then I find that that property has some things not so good about them. And I still go back and tell them. Yeah. And I've had situations where people had to move out because of immigration after a year, a couple of years, and they didn't buy the property because, I advised them not to buy the property. They were interested. So all of those things will happen. But what my experience is that, when we advise the right things to them, those things will come back to you. Yeah. So many of my customers are like my biggest cheerleaders. They go out and recommend me to everybody, and even people who haven't done transactions with me, they still go back and recommend me, right? So that is my experience. So I always like to do what is best for the customer. And customer communication is very important. So what does that mean? You know, we do we work very hard to make things happen for our clients. But what I see, worked really well for me is communicating back to customer what I'm doing. For example, let's talk about negotiation. So you are negotiating on behalf of your customer, and let's say you negotiated for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, time frame. So are you communicating what are the different strategies that you're using, every time when you're going back and negotiating, right? So many a times we miss out on it. With, let's say you negotiated for 3 weeks and then you saved 100K for the customer. Yeah. You would think the customer would be extremely happy, right? Or if you didn't save as much, you save like, you couldn't negotiate much, but you worked, for 3 weeks really hard to save and you saved $0. You would think the customer will be unhappy because you didn't save. That's not really true. In both the options, what my experience is that it's about how you communicate what the work that you have done in those 3 weeks. What does that mean, right? So, making sure that let's say you placed the offer and the offer came back, counter offer came back. And at that point of time, I always like to communicate with my buyers. These are all the options that you have, and this is what I would recommend. And these are the strategies I'm going to use to counter back on the offer, right? And then I'll work with them, work with the other party. And whenever it comes back, I'll always, put together the strategy based on what is happening, right? So I use different strategies. So I try to communicate that back to the customer. Many a times what happens is that, we as realtors don't communicate all of those strategies and work that we are doing. So what ends up happening is that even if you save 100K to them, they don't know what work and effort you have put in and what kind of strategies you have used. On the flip side, even if you have not saved anything also, since you have communicated all of those things to your customer, they'll be so happy about the fact that you have put the effort, right? So it's important that customer communication, you're communicating back to your customer. It's not how much you save in the process. It's more about your strategies and the knowledge and the effort that you are bringing to the table is what the customer appreciates, in my experience. The other aspect is customer relationship. Like, how are you maintaining your relationships with your customer? Figure out, where your customers are. Are they in Facebook? Are they in Instagram? Or, where are they, right? So figure out what makes most sense for your customer base and make sure that you are maintaining those relationships with them. For example, last year in summer, I, for 10 days, I did an experiment. I just went and met with, 100 of my customers in person. Like every day I met with, 10 to 12 customers every day. That's all I did for 10 days. Just to, keep those in-person relationships as well as understand. I was also doing an experiment to understand, the people that have done business 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, are they still sticking with us or did they make any changes in terms of their real estate relationships, right? So what I found was 95% of them, either they bought homes with us or they're sticking with us or they sold homes with us, which was, very refreshing that, the strategies that we are using in terms of maintaining our relationships are working out, right? So think about how you maintain those relationships. This is an area where, a lot of us underestimate the power of, maintaining those relationships. I got one call. I get a lot of random calls from a lot of realtors all over the US, mainly, a lot of, of course, the eXp realtors, because my name pops up everywhere. So I got a call from a realtor from Virginia recently. And he called me and he said, "Hey, can you tell me the tips and tricks of what you do and all of that?" So I spoke to him. And then I heavily emphasized to him about maintaining customer relationships. And then he told me he has a listing that expired last year, right? So we continued the conversation and we ended the conversation. And later, at the end of the day, he called me back and he said, "Hey, you are spot on with relationship." I asked him what happened. So the customer who had listed with him a year ago, the sale didn't happen. The listing was closed, and then he found out that he went with a different realtor a year later, and he was able to sell the home. Yeah. So he told me that he didn't maintain that relationship for that 1 year. So, obviously he's not in front of him. So he lost that opportunity. So the relationship part is also very important. Like, figure out what makes most sense for your customers. Again, how you maintain relationship should be based on where your customers are, right? Don't think about, okay, this person is doing this. Sometimes it could be very overwhelming. I see people who are doing so much more social media than me, who do, so many different things, right? When you hear about so many different things, it could be very confusing what to do and, what not to do, right? Always work backwards from your customers. Where are your customers? What are they doing? What do they like? And that's where you should be. And you should be focused on that, because every customer is different. Every market is different. Every customer base is different. Depending on the area, it changes. So, focus on what works best for your customers. The other thing that really worked for me is data-driven approach. I take very data-driven approach. I spend quite a bit of time on running data and looking at data and trends and all of that. That really worked really well for me. The other factor is strong negotiation skills. To be honest, my business grew significantly through the negotiation skills that I brought to the table. In the first year, I did about 60 transactions in real estate, which was kind of a record at that time, because doing 60 transactions in first year was not very easy at that time. Somehow, I think word spread very fast because of my negotiation skills. People were in carpools and van pools, and they talk about, oh, how much you got, and all of that. Obviously, the word spread. So that really helped me a lot in terms of my real estate career. And I think if you do the right things and focus on the right aspects, things will automatically happen. So negotiation is definitely something that really helped me. And the other factor that a lot of people talk about is, being patient and being, calm in a lot of situations is something that really helped me through my real estate career. Again, that's my nature, but a lot of people tell about that. So that's definitely something that people really enjoy when they work with me, even if my customer um, they go through a lot of stressful situations through the process, right? So we all know there'll be a lot of situations where people could lose control and come back to you and all of that. So I maintain a very patient and calm relationship through the process, and then go from there. That really helped me through my career. Okay. So this is my favorite part of the presentation. So I know everybody talks about, oh, I did this, that, all of that, but I think, we always need to keep reevaluating what we could have done differently, always, right? So if you don't keep thinking about what you could do differently this year versus last year, you won't do the same kind of same number of transactions that you would have done last year, or same type of business like last year, because the business keeps changing. More people come into the market. more strategies come into the market evolves, just like how AI is changing a lot of things right now. So you have to keep thinking about how you can do differently. One thing that I could have done differently is the social media presence. Only from the last few months, I increased my social media presence. Previously, I was not that much active in social media. Definitely, that's something that I would have done differently in the last 8 years. The reason why I'm talking about these things is that if you are a newer agent, if you just started your business, or if you are a longer term agent but you haven't thought about these things, I thought it will be helpful for you. This is like a genuine, post-mortem of my own real estate business. But again, take it with a pinch of salt. Everybody is different. Think through about what makes most sense for you. This is, based on my own real estate career. I thought, I could have done these things, better or started lot more earlier. The other aspect is setting up a CRM database. This also I started working on in the last 5-6 months and set it up, but I felt like this was something that I could have started a lot more early. The other factor is I was very heads down on doing transactions, and I was not focused on what is outside. So what does that mean, right? So far I have been only with two brokerages. One, first I started with Skyline. It's a local brokerage in Washington, and I was there for almost 4 years before I shifted to 4.5 years before I shifted to eXp. Once I shifted to eXp, I saw a lot of benefits with eXp, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought probably I should have kept an eye on what is out there. I was not, I was very focused on heads down on my transactions and my business. I was not looking at what is outside. Yeah, and that perspective also changes depending on the brokerage you are with, right? So it's about what is important for you, right? For me, it is also important to look at not just real estate transactions. It's also important about what is out there, and I will talk about that in a minute. I think to give my own perspective, we need to be, thinking about longer term. Yeah, looking at transactions is just short term in my perspective. Looking holistically about where we want to be, what we want to do, not just from a real estate career perspective, as where you want to be in the next few years is something that you need to be thinking about. I think initially a few years I was not focused on that. And I think that's something that is very important. And I'll give you guys what that means in a few minutes. And something that I would have thought, early on is more about passive investment and income generation plan upfront, because it shouldn't be the case where if you do transactions, you get the money. Otherwise, you won't get the money. Kind of an approach is not going to really help any of us. So I think it's really important for us to think about having a longer term vision and longer term plan on how we can, generate income and passive investment, and so that you're not just focused on the transactions, because we all know real estate is a seasonal business and things change. We saw how things changed in the last few years and how it was in COVID. There will be so many ups and downs. So we have to always have an approach of how we can shield ourselves from these changes, right? So that's something that I would have started upfront. I'm glad I started that in the last few years, but I would have started that little bit upfront. I'm just sharing this image just for fun. I did this in ChatGPT. I just put, come up with a caricature of me, and that this is what it came up with. It was fun. So in case if you guys are in ChatGPT and you haven't done this, maybe just try it out. All you have to say is, based on what you know of me, can you come up with a caricature, right? So and it comes up with something. Of course, you can refine it if you want to. I didn't refine it. I just put this, and this is what it came up with. It was fun. Okay. So I wanted to show you guys a quick, video. Again, this is not about, talking about eXp, but I think I wanted people to get more educated about how to think about, passive investment and income generation opportunities, and also spreading your business beyond, real estate, right? So I'll talk about it in a minute after the video. You'll get more clarity what I'm talking about.
Means more opportunity for you and your real estate business. eXp is the largest independent brokerage on the planet. This allows our agents to enjoy more resources to back their businesses. eXp still maintains the largest real estate firm in the US, ranked by closed sales since 2023. Take a moment to look at some of the amazing points that make us the number one growth leader. We rank number one in transaction size, volume, best brokerage since 2021. The future of real estate is cloud based, and eXp Realty has not only embraced this concept, but completely dominated it. Our innovative model allows agents to work seamlessly from anywhere, leveraging cutting edge technology that's essential in today's market. With world class training and development, including live webinars, virtual conferences, in person events, and top tier mentorship, eXp agents are always ahead of the curve. And with eXp World, the opportunities for growth are truly unparalleled. This isn't just a brokerage, it's a revolution in real estate. At eXp Realty, we offer an 80-20 commission split. But here's the game changer. Once you hit your cap, you keep 100% of your commission for the rest of your anniversary year. More money in your pocket means more freedom to build your business, invest in your future, and live life on your terms. Take a peek at eXp's low cost to join. At eXp Realty, your income potential goes far beyond commissions. We offer incredible opportunities to build wealth through equity awards. Earn stock for milestones like capping, closing your first transaction, or attracting an agent to the company. Plus, you can choose to invest in eXp stock at a discounted rate, a program so valuable that 65% of our agents enroll voluntarily. And here's the ultimate reward. Our top agents can earn back their entire $16,000 cap in company stock. At eXp, you're not just an agent, you're an owner. One of the most exciting opportunities at eXp Realty is revenue share. And the best part? It's completely optional. Here's how it works. When an agent you sponsor closes a deal, a portion of the 20% split that goes to eXp is shared back with you. It's not taken from the agent, it comes from eXp's portion. What's even cooler? Agents are naturally curious when they see you thriving. If you love eXp, chances are other agents will want to know more. And when they join, you get rewarded. It's a simple, powerful way to create passive income while helping others succeed. Now let's take a quick look at the breakdown of revenue share. Since this is just an overview of eXp, we won't dive deep into the details right now. However, if you're interested in learning exactly how this works and how it can create passive income for you, just drop Rev Share in the comments and I'll personally reach out with a full breakdown. At eXp Realty, we believe in giving back and creating opportunities that enrich our local communities. One of my favorite initiatives is I Heart eXp Week, a time when agents come together to make a real difference. I love joining forces with local agents to volunteer and support incredible outreach programs. It's more than just real estate, it's about impact, connection, and serving the communities we call home. Of course, eXp also offers support 24/7 for its agents. We know real estate happens at all hours. If you have questions, let's connect. Feel free to message me below, visit this informative site, or give me a
Okay. So I'll quickly talk through, what benefit I have seen. I'll definitely give you guys a very, very honest opinion of, what I liked and what I didn't like and what was my journey. So I was with Skyline, the local brokerage, and at that time I wanted to expand into Texas. I was in Washington, of course. I'm very familiar with Texas because I studied in Texas and worked in Texas before I moved, to Chicago and then to Seattle. So at that time, I was exploring. I didn't want two different brokerages in two different states, and that's how I started exploring about EXP. And I'll tell you my first experience with EXP, meaning people who connected me to EXP was one of my showing agents, and they connected me. They asked me to talk to the Washington managing broker and the Texas managing broker, and I went through the process. And to be honest, I absolutely hated all those conversations. Because I didn't feel that that was the right sponsorship team I should be joining. I think what makes a huge difference based on what I observed was that you need to join the right sponsorship team, meaning the person that you are joining, as well as the up chain is very. It's not a organization hierarchy by any ways. It's more people who will help you through the process. That's what I meant. So it's very very important that you choose the right sponsor and sponsorship team. So how did I go about choosing my sponsorship team, right? So that makes a world of difference. Either you love EXP or don't love like EXP. In my experience, is based on the team that you join. It's not like a team. It's more like people who are referring you to EXP. That's what I meant, right? So then what I did was I went back into my network and looked at who is in EXP. And I found this person that I worked in Skyline Properties, and he used to help me quite a bit unconditionally, right? So as realtors, many a times, we don't like to share as much information as you want to, right? I'm not saying everybody is that way, but that's not something that you will notice often. But this person was always willing to help unconditionally, and it helped me quite a bit. And I got to know that he joined DXP, and I started talking to him, and I spoke to the sponsorship team. And my number one reason for joining that sponsorship team was, I know that people were willing to help, right? And again, that's my nature as well. I'm always, trying to help as much as I can. So it really aligned with my frequencies, and that's how I joined. And it was a really good decision. That's one thing that was a game changer for me. For example, when I joined, I got my Texas license, and when I joined EXP. As a new agent in every state that you get license, you are supposed to participate in a mentorship program for the first few transactions. Since I was already doing so well in Washington and I was Skyline's number one agent at that time, I didn't feel like I need to be participating in a mentorship program in Texas, although, I didn't know much about Texas at that point. And this was back in, I just got my license, right? So many, many years ago in Texas. So, but then I tried to convince the designated broker, they were not very, supportive. And at that point, I reached out to somebody in my sponsorship chain, and I was working back and forth with them for many, many days. Nothing was progressing. And then I connected with my sponsorship team member, and suddenly within half an hour, I got a email from designated broker from Texas that I don't need to be part of the mentorship program, right? So that's one example. Like who you are part of is very important, especially your sponsor and the people who are trying to help you. That makes a huge difference. The advantage that I have with my sponsorship team is that as I said, my sponsor, he helps unconditionally. And then it's not about they are doing more volumes or less volumes or a bigger agent, how much that's not what matters. Yeah. What matters is the willingness to help. It's not a hierarchy. Again, don't think about this, oh, you have to join with a bigger agent than you or a smaller agent. That's not what is important. What is important is who are the people that you can get help from. And also it depends on how you seek help. We all know we are in an independent, we are like an independent company. It doesn't matter which brokerage we are. It's all about how you reach out and you take advantage of the opportunities that are available. The advantage that I saw with my sponsorship team is that one, I should be my sponsor itself. And then we have, one of the, best real estate coaches in the world in our sponsorship team. And we have somebody who has managed teams and one of the best teams in EXP within our team. And we have like top five guys in EXP within our team. That's the person who helped me to get out of that mentorship program. So there are a lot of different variety of people from different parts of the country in our sponsorship chain who are willing to help. That's what is more important. Yeah. What I really liked about EXP is the collaboration. Again, a lot of people talk about it, but I personally experienced it all the time. So whenever there are so many groups, and you are part of like icon group, like for all the people who are icons in US, there is a group and there are so many different groups, right? Whenever I put a message, I get calls from people from different parts of the country to answer my question. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like people are really, really willing to help you. So that collaboration is something that it's unparalleled. Yeah. And also partly because when you are in the sponsorship team, since they're also getting revenue generation through so many agents under the sponsorship team, it's also beneficial for them. Partly it might be that as well. But other than that, also even people across have been so good about collaborating and sharing information, and that really aligned with my own personality. I'm willing to share and help, so that I think I got that frequency match. Yeah. And the other thing that was really beneficial for me is the Washington and Texas brokerage teams. They are really, really good. Especially, Washington brokerage team, I interact a lot more with them because of the fact that I have been with them for, longer. And just one phone call, everything gets done for me. Yeah. So it's so refreshing, right, to see that kind of support. And the other thing that I liked about is passive income. Of course, I haven't been doing, to be honest, as much revenue generation because I didn't put a lot of focus into it. I was just focused on my business, to be honest. And everybody kept telling me, "Hey, you are doing so well. Why are you not, focusing on this aspect, right?" So most of the revenue generation that I have right now happened organically, meaning people reached out to me and they joined through me. It's not like me reaching out to other people and them joining yet. There were a few that have joined, but I definitely see this as a bigger opportunity that I haven't been focusing on. But I know there are people who don't do any transactions and they get more than 1 million per month through revenue sharing, right? So because they have built large network and they focus quite a bit on that, and all of that, they put a lot of effort into it. So that's definitely an opportunity that has helped me, especially last year, because obviously all of us had lesser transactions last year compared to the previous years, right? So I definitely got benefited through this. I got quite a bit of money from that last year. And then the other aspect that I liked about is the free and discounted stock program. So a couple of things I'll tell you guys is that, initially when I joined eXp, I thought this was like, you get $200 for first transaction, $400 for becoming icon. If somebody joins, you get some stock. There are various, small itsy bitsy stock, that you get, right? Initially, I thought it was not a significant amount, but then over a period of time, it adds up. Like, the $200, $400, whatever you're getting, it adds up. And I also signed up for the 10% discount program. Initially, it was 10%. Now they changed it to 5%. So a lot of people, what they do is that it's not like they keep the stock longer term. As soon as you get the stock, anyway, it's 5% discounted. They sell it. You got that 5%, already into your account, right? It's, that's how people look at it, and they use that for something else, right? So that's also another thing that they have done. I have not done it so far. I still kept my stock as is, but I know people who do it. They, just sell after they get it because anyway they're getting it for discount, and then they, invest somewhere else, like they buy real estate or something else or whatever their plans are, right? So still, it's a money that you get, right? And it adds up over a period of time. Um, I'll show you guys some data in a minute about how I got benefited. Yeah. The other best thing, this is, I think, it is unparalleled. The broad exposure that you get to multiple business opportunities. I can't tell you guys enough about this. This is one of the things I told you I should have explored other brokerages, things before itself. So I'll tell you my experience with the XP. There are 90,000 agents. And many of these agents are true entrepreneurs. Like they are looking at opportunities to build other businesses. I've seen people who build AI businesses. There are so many people who build, independent AI businesses. It's not just real estate, right? Obviously, since EXP is so big, they have such a big opportunity to get business from EXP itself, like so many agents, because of the exposure they will have. That's a big, big plus. And people have built so many other businesses, not just real estate, right? So people have virtual assistant businesses, right? So where they help other agents, not just agents, other people to hire, virtual agents, right? So that's a big business. And then I see people who build AI businesses. I have seen people build, you know, investment, real estate investing business. You'll be surprised. I met one guy in EXP. He has multi-million dollar business where he helps people to invest in real estate because he has a team and he brings unparalleled support to them. And a lot of agents have joined, into their business, right? So there's so many businesses. You get so much exposure about how to do different things and how to utilize the power of this big network that you have. That's like a big, big plus. Again, I didn't explore this as much, to be honest. But last year, I went to eXp Con and I got so much exposure to all of these things. Again, it's about how you use the opportunity. It's not so much about, oh, I join EXP and I get to know everything. That's not how it is. You have to put the effort anywhere, not just EXP, any brokerage you are. The difference that I found was that when I was with a Skyline, I was doing transactions. I was very happy with them. I absolutely loved Skyline, right? But then I think this exposure that you get is very different. It's very different. There are so many things that you can learn from others. People are willing to share the information and you can take advantage of it. I got into some podcasts. People, asked me to get into podcasts, and one EXP agent asked me to be part of his podcast. And at the end of the podcast, once we're done with the recording, he spent an hour with me explaining because I wanted to learn about agent attraction. And he walked me through everything he does for an hour. I'm not kidding. Like for an hour, all he did was spend, he even shared with me the scripts he uses, what he does, everything. I was talking about the collaboration, right? So the collaboration and the exposure and how you learn, it's unparalleled, right? Unparalleled. But again, you have to use that. You have to go out and you have to, think about it. Yeah. So the other thing I really liked about is the free CRM. They provide three different CRMs that you can pick from. You can, pick which CRM works best for you. I think they provide Bold Trail and Lofty, and there is another one I don't remember the name. So you can look at all the three and see which ones make more sense for you. That is a big perk. And there are so many other tools they provide. They provide the enterprise Canva for free. Because of the fact that they have such a leverage, they give a lot of things for free that you may have to pay outside. Yeah. So having said that, there are two things. One is, it's all about how you utilize the opportunities you have. It doesn't matter which brokerage you join. If you don't use it, it's like any other brokerage. Yeah, you are just simply doing your transactions and moving on. Yeah. So a couple of other things that I always get questions about, oh, to get that 16,000 back, you have to become icon agent. So what that means is that you have to get to that cap of 16,000 and then do certain number of transactions. Typically, I become icon after I do 25 to 30 transactions. That's what I noticed every year. So what if I'm able to not get to 25 or 30 transactions? So the thing that you need to think about is if you're not able to do 25 to 30 transactions, you need to think about how you can improve your business, right? If you're not able to do it in your current brokerage, or if you don't have that exposure, what that means is that you have to think about improving your business also, right? You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and again. Let's say if you're doing 50 transactions last year, you'll do only 40 this year if you don't do anything different. Yeah. So it's like a chicken and egg thing. You should not think about current scenario. You have to think about where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years, right? How do you go from A to B? And again, it's also about the passive income, stock program, everything else. You are getting a lot of other benefits, not just from the transactions that you're doing that, sometimes offset for what you're getting. It happened to me last year. I'll show some data in a minute. So those are some things that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to give a lot more time for questions. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat group or you can ask the questions as well. More than happy to answer them. And I wanted to share a couple of things before we get. Meanwhile, you can start putting the questions. You don't have to wait. Okay. If you guys are able to see my screen. So this is the 1099 I got for revenue share. Last year, again, I do very little agent attraction, but then I still got like 23,000 for last year. And this is the stock program. right? So this is those $200, $400 and stuff that you get. It adds up over a period of time. And of course, I also did the 10%, 5% discount program also. I currently have like, 120K, and there is some, unvested stock and the stock that is available. I just want to share this just so that initially I didn't think this was beneficial, to be honest, but then it added up over a period of time. It's don't look at it like 6 months, 1 year, current scenario. It doesn't work out. I'll tell you guys right now itself. You need to plan for the next 3 to 5 years. Think about where you want to be, right? I'm not saying whether you should join EXP or not join EXP or stay with your current brokerage. That's not how you should make decisions. You should think about in the next 3 to 5 years, where do you want to be, right? How do you build that? One thing that kept me thinking in the last few years is, what if the transactions go down, the business go down, and again, not that it will go down. What I'm trying to tell you guys is we should be prepared for all kinds of scenarios, right? So think about, in Washington also, when I started as a real estate agent, compared to now, I think there are 100 times more agents. 100 times. I mean, I can easily tell, right? So obviously, I'm not saying it's necessarily as a bad thing. It's a good thing. Competition is always good. That keeps you on your toes, keeps you to innovate and think differently, think, do things differently, right? But you also need to think about, oh, you can't just be focused on only transactions. Think about other revenue streams. Think about the reason why I'm saying this is that the energy you will have in 20s versus 30s versus 40s will not be the same, right? It will keep changing, as you age, right? So you can't be doing the same things that you did in 20s and 30s and 40s, right? So you have to build that passive income, build that other ways of revenue generating income, build other businesses so that you can keep again, the premise should be you should be passionate about doing those things. Whatever you get into, think about something that is passionate. Don't focus on the money part first. Focus on how much passionate you are about doing those things and then work backwards from there. So that's what I learned. I definitely would encourage for you guys to think about it as well. Okay, so let's go to the chat. Any questions from people for me?
So, Chandra, this is Venkat. I will ask one question. So,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing your experience. Um, so I have been in the real estate only the last couple of years now, and I'm not in
Yeah.
doing so much as what you explained. So, I got a lot of inputs from you today
Mhm.
on how to improve. So, one question I commonly get is about this property management, because with what is happening in the last couple of months,
Yeah.
with our job market, immigration issues, and everything else, people
Yeah.
are really not willing to really buy or sell. But one thing, everyone needs a place to live. So what it has happened is like renting. So rental, I'm talking from the Washington market as
Okay.
such, which you know very well. It has
Sure.
gone up big time. So everyone is looking for a passive income option of maybe going for investment properties and maybe renting it out.
Mhm.
And since most of them wanted to remain anonymous, so one of the things that time and again I get a question is, can you do property management?
Yeah.
So, does eXp Realty allow that? Because what I talked to a couple of brokerages, they said this that because you end up keeping someone else's money as part of it, they really think that's a financial constraint, and they don't allow brokerage firms don't allow real estate brokers to do property management.
Yeah,
So,
that's an excellent question, Venkat. Unfortunately, I don't do property management. So I would say I have limited knowledge about it, but I do know other EXP agents who are doing property management in Washington, Venkat.
mhm.
So I can definitely reach out to them and get more details and relay that information back to you. I do think there is no restriction, Venkat, from what I know, because others are doing it from what I
Okay,
saw. But I don't have the detailed nuances of it. I'm more than happy to check and get back to you.
sure. Thank you, Chandra.
Again, this is not an opportunity just about DXP. You can ask me any questions about anything. I'm here to, share whatever information and knowledge I have.
Hi, Chandra. This is Sunana.
Hi, Sunena.
And hey, thank you so much for this presentation. You were very crisp and to the point. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to know, like, how did you manage to do business in two states where I'm assuming you live in Washington, right?
Yeah. So what I realized is, Sunaina, again, my progression into doing a different state happened very naturally. I was not intending to do it, but what happened was that in COVID, right? So as you guys know, a lot of people moved from Washington to Texas. And everybody used to ask me, hey, do you know a real estate agent in Texas, right? So what happened was that whenever I started talking to people, they asked me for a realtor, and then generally I'm hesitant to refer anybody who I don't know personally or who I don't know, um, in-person interaction, right? So I used to struggle to refer people, right? So then I thought, oh, why not me? Right. So because I studied in Texas and I worked in Texas and I have familiarity with the Texas market, that's how it naturally happened, Sunaina. And I
Okay.
think to answer your other question, how I manage business in two different states, that's an excellent question. I'll tell you what happened to me. Again, this is all blessing in disguise for me. When COVID happened, we all moved into virtual models, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we hired, showing agents, we hired people to help us, we got very creative because of the situation we were in, right? So that really, really helped me and my clients because, everybody got used to that virtual model, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to
Absolutely.
replicate the same virtual model across these two states after that. Yeah,
Okay. And also, I think it helped because you lived there, right? Like you studied there for a few
correct,
years. So you were used
correct,
to the areas.
correct.
Sorry, I have some bad cold.
Oh, no.
So I was approached by EXP a few years ago,
Mhm.
and like you said, could so totally relate to it that we are so transaction driven that we don't think about anything outside it, right?
Yeah.
So that was exactly the scenario where I was.
Mhm.
So now, if you could elaborate, and if it's possible, a
Mhm.
little bit more on how joining EXP
Mhm.
generated more revenue for you.
Mhm.
I'm with the same brokerage as you were.
Yeah.
So, how in comparison did it additionally generate revenue? Because
Mhm.
honestly, like being very candid and open with
Yeah.
you, I have negotiated the upper cap that I pay
Mhm.
for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
And that is much lower than the 16K that
Yeah.
now EXP will charge. So
Yeah.
for me at this instant, if I really want to jump in and join your team, and you're very impressive, like the way you talk. So unfortunately, I've never gotten a chance to
Yeah.
meet you or do a business with you till
Yeah.
now. But so how would you tell me and talk numbers to me where
Yeah.
my cap is much lower than 16K? So what benefits would I reap from joining EXP?
Yeah. Excellent questions, Naina. So what I saw with Skyline is that I used to pay, I think, $300 for each transaction. And with Skyline, I was paying monthly about $400. Okay.
Mhm.
And what I noticed is that when you and with Skyline, the taxes that you pay, the E&O tax and all those other fees, Sunaina,
Yes.
they were a lot larger than what I pay with the XP. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't notice those small things, but they add up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when I joined EXP, I didn't join for all this other stuff. To be honest, I joined
Mm.
EXP because I was planning on having business in two different states and I didn't want two different brokerages.
Correct.
That was my driving factor, right? So the first few transactions, I'll tell you, I'll be very honest, I had a heart attack. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was paying $300 and now I'm paying, like, for each transaction 20%, right? So
Yeah.
this happened to me for the first few transactions. But then what I realized was that after I became Icon agent, I started getting this stock, this 16,000 that I paid back in stocks, right?
Hmm.
So that's when I started realizing that, hey, I'm not paying whatever money I have paid, I'm getting it back. Okay. And then I'm not paying this monthly fee as well, the $400. There is no month. I think the monthly fee is like $95 or something with the XP. Again, I don't look into all these small details. For some reason, I look at the bigger picture more than all the details. But I realized after a year, when I looked at the math between Skyline versus EXP, I ended up saving more with EXP.
Okay.
Yeah. When I looked at all the taxes that I was paying, the monthly payments I was paying, when I looked at all of those aspects, that's when I realized the first few transactions till I became Icon agent, I had a heart attack. Okay. So after that, what happened was that the other thing that I noticed is that it took me 6 months to get used to EXP because Skyline is a lot lenient on documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not very strict. I'll tell you, the first 6 months I had to really ramp up on the documentation part. Of course, that helped me to think about, previously with Skyline, I was doing all of my transaction coordination. Although I was doing 100 transactions, I was always like loading everything into, Skyline because it was a very easy process, right? And they were not very strict. Even if I miss a document, it's not like I need to be like really worried about, right? But with EXP being such a bigger company, they always will look after you, meaning they don't want you to be at a risk, right? If something untoward happens, right? So it's not that they want you to put so much documentation. It's so much more about you not being at a risk. Yeah. So I had to ramp up the documentation part, and I that forced me to look at a transaction coordinator and looked at building my support team, right? What that really helped me is to look at more focused on client service rather than focus on all this documentation and everything. So what I saw was that it's more of a longer term thing, Sunaina. And as I told you, initially when I joined that stock program because everybody said I should join. Okay, I'll be very honest. I had no clue. I was like, okay, I'm getting $200 here, $400 here, and it was like $6 or something per stock at that time when I joined, 6 or 5, and
Yeah.
it's not like a lot of money, right? But then what I realized was that I showed you guys the numbers, right? So it added up over a period of time. Yeah. And you start getting dividends and you start getting the discounted program. So you're not paying the same money and it added up over a period of time. Yeah. So what I realized is that once you calculate all of that amounts that you're getting and what you're paying, that's when you'll see the real benefit. If you look at it individually piece by piece, let's say if you look at the first few transactions, it doesn't make sense, right? But it's the holistic approach. And much more than that, I'll tell you the biggest thing that I see is the exposure. Okay. Um, I'm doing so many different things right now, Sunena, that I was not doing before. For example, the social media, right? I was not doing a whole lot of social media before. And my perspective about social media has completely changed. Yeah. And I have been participating in so many podcasts, right? Sharing my knowledge to others and all of that. Again, it's not that I'm getting any income or benefit, but I do think that exposure, because you have more online presence, right?
Yeah.
That I didn't have before. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is definitely a plus that I see. And EXP agents are really, really good about it.
Yeah.
Extremely good. I mean, I am not doing even 1% of what everybody else is doing. That exposure is very different, right? And the CRM, right? The system itself. I'll tell you, the reason why I'm talking about the collaboration part is, whenever I want to get into something, I reach out to people, and a lot of people reach out to me, they want to share the information. And I got into calls with people who use Lofty. I got into calls with people who use Boldray, and they show me exactly how they are using the systems. I didn't have this exposure before. Yeah. So now I chose one system and I started setting it up. So all of that exposure is very different. Yeah. And I think, it helps you over a period of time. You may not see some of those things immediate benefits. For example, I have set up Bold Trail system right now. And I have like 14,000 or 15,000 contacts in my system right now. Yeah. So are you, seeing immediate benefit business? No, but it's one way of maintaining those relationships with your customers. So those are things that I notice. And I also hired a virtual assistant recently. I don't think I would have had that exposure. Many EXP agents use virtual assistants and they also have their own businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you are part of that agent group, right? Remember somebody reached out about virtual assistant. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
also a business that a lot of agents do. I haven't been doing it, but I'll tell you, a lot of people are getting money through those virtual assistant business. That exposure is what I see as a difference, and how you take advantage of that exposure is more important than what EXP has to offer.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and giving your time to educating us. I appreciate
Definitely.
it.
Yeah, if you have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Thanks.
Right. Any other
So,
questions?
yes, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
It's a general question. So, I have visited my friend in California last year in November.
Mhm.
So she said that she bought a house, I think maybe two houses in Austin during the pandemic, and it was a peer pressure. Everyone was buying, so she bought it, and
Mhm.
now she's saying that they are underpriced. Like what they paid, it's a lot lesser than that. So,
Yeah.
what they should do? Should they keep it? Should they sell it? I mean, what husband and wife both are in tech, so what they should do? I
Yeah.
mean, you have some knowledge from that market, so
Yeah. So,
share.
Anshu, we all know, right, as realtors, real estate is a seasonal business. It goes up and goes down,
Yep.
right? So you should never make decisions out of fear and emotion. Those are two things that I always tell. Even the client that called me this morning, that's what I told him. You should never make decisions out of fear or emotion. You should always look at data. For example, they should look at the property they bought, how much rent they are getting, how much EMI are they paying. Are they able to sustain the difference between rent versus EMI for the next few years? Right? That data they have to definitely look at. Okay.
Yep.
And the second thing you need to look at is, every market grows at a different phase and different, for example, the markets in Frisco, Prosper, McKinney, all those areas around Dallas, they are still growing. Yeah, because, Universal is coming up, Universal is opening, Universal Resorts, it's opening in March, right? So all that local area will grow, right? So all those local nuances are also important. Yeah. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that, let's say if they wanted to sell, Anshu, they should think about what are they going to do after selling is something they have to think about. If they have a better plan, and if they are thinking about getting something that would bring them more benefit than what they are getting out of their current properties, they should think about that also. What is the point of just simply selling and keeping it in your bank and not doing anything with it, right? So these are the aspects that I would recommend for them to think through before they make a decision. Yeah. And again, you should always think about the next 3 to 5 years when you make real estate investment. And we all know, we all tell our clients the same thing, right? They should not look at short-term gains. It's a longer term gain they would gain. So definitely, encourage them to think about the next 3 to 5 years and see what they want to do. But let's say if they sell and if they have a better investment plan, definitely they can do it. I got a call from a customer yesterday. He's in Dallas and he has a property in Bothell, and he's thinking about whether to sell or not. I asked him what he's planning on doing. He's doing some construction business and he wants to use that money, and he thinks that by putting into construction business he can get more money than keeping that property. And he also has that capital gain tax benefits. He's still within that 3 years. So I asked him to calculate all the numbers and figure out, and I told him I'll run the comps and give the data to him and he can make a decision, right? So we should always educate our clients and based on all of these aspects. Of course, we are not making a decision on their behalf, but definitely we should always give them all the data and let them to make the decision. And you should never make decisions based on last 2 3 years market went down, I'll sell for a loss, and what are you going to do with that is also important. And also it depends on the area where you have, right? For example, in a lot of areas, outer areas, for example, in Washington, all the outer areas are getting impacted, right? Because return to work, people are not buying in outer areas. If you have properties in outer areas that you want to sell and move them to inner areas, makes sense, right? You should still sell and move into an inner area, right? If you already have equity from the outer area. So we should educate our clients, based on what benefit they get. For example, in the last 1.5 2 years, I've not sold investment homes in Lake Stevens and Marysville. I know a lot of realtors are still selling, but I saw Amazon has been moving into 3 day work week. They moved into 5 day work week, and then Microsoft, started moving. So in the last 1.5, 2 years, I sold primary homes, but I didn't sell investment homes. I always tell my clients, again, I'm not the decision maker, but I'll educate them that these outer areas will get impacted once there is return to work, right? And a lot of those people bought in inner areas. I get so many calls from them. Hey, you gave me such a good advice 2, 3 years ago, and it really helped me, right? So all again, there is real estate is very local, right? Depending on the area, the city, and a lot of things are varied. So we should educate them based on that. Same thing for investment properties in Texas also.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Hi, Leslie.
If others don't have, Chandra, I have one other question.
Sure.
About lead generation. So when I started with the real estate business, I used to get like a lot of calls and text messages saying sign up for this monthly, pay so much amount, and we'll get you some qualified leads and all those. Based on your experience, I mean, especially working in 2 states, what do you recommend? I mean, do you have any suggestions on how to go about that?
Yeah. So Venkat, I haven't done any paid leads so far in my career. So I don't have as much knowledge to intelligently tell you, but I'll tell you my perspective on why I didn't do it. Yeah. So I always believe that people, when they come to you and they really want to work with you, right? They will be your strongest supporters if you do a really good job. Yeah. I've seen people who, come through other referrals, not the client referrals. What I meant by is they just come and, do the transaction and they go away. They don't become your biggest supporters, right? That's how I look at it. Like, I really want people to come and work with me because they believe that I can do something good for them, right? So not every client needs to work for you, or not every lead needs to work for you. So far, my perspective has been that I want to keep in this, be in this business longer term. So what does that mean? I want to work with people who go after the transaction and tell 10 other people, right, about the work that we have done, right? So I have at least 20 or 30 clients who had referred me to at least 10 or 15 of their family members and friends, that it's not just leads, like they did transactions with me, right? So what my experience has been is that, I didn't want to do paid leads intentionally. It's not so much that I don't want to pay the money. It's more about I was thinking about the conversion ratio after the transaction is done with those leads. Yeah, again, people may have different experiences, but for me, that's how I thought about it and never did it. Yeah.
So your growth has been very organic. I mean, completely driven by word of mouth and
Correct.
referrals.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But also client relationship, maintaining that relationship. Yeah. So you need to be in front of them. Okay. I'll tell you, in real estate, a lot of us forget that, oh, I worked with somebody 5, 6 years ago and I did fabulous job with them. Doesn't mean anything if you're not maintaining that relationship, because they don't remember anymore. Yeah.
Right.
But when, the way people make decisions, the clients make decisions, is that, when they are about to make a real estate transaction, they will think about who is around me. Okay. It could be a referral from a friend, or it could be around them, right? So those are the realtors they will reach out. Yeah. So if you didn't maintain that relationship and you thought, somebody who you did 6 years ago will come back to you, that's not a good assumption.
Makes
And
sense. Yeah.
and a lot of times realtors are attributed to, oh, I worked with this client, but they don't refer. This person doesn't refer. That person doesn't refer. That's not how it works. It's not about they're not referring. It's about you're not maintaining that relationship with them.
Right.
So I have one more question, Chandra. Like, you have done so many transactions, so can you share some tips on the negotiation skill?
Yeah. So in terms of negotiation, Anshu, the first thing I always do is I will look at the comps, like how much similar homes are selling around the area, right? So that's my number one thing. And I always get on a call and walk through the comms with the client so that they understand what is happening in the market. Okay. And my negotiation will be different based on resale versus new construction. So how is it different, right? When I'm negotiating for new construction, the data analysis that I do is little different. For example, when I reach out to the agent, the builder's agent, I ask them how many homes are in the market, how many homes are completed. The home that my client is buying, is that a completed home or is it in process, right? In process of completion. So how does the data help, right? If it is a completed home, we have more scope for negotiation. If it is not a completed home, we have a little bit lesser scope for negotiation because the builder will be more willing to negotiate on completed homes. And even if it is in process home, but then there are a lot of homes in the market that are not selling, that are completed, that also gives you more scope for negotiation, although it's an in process home. So, but let's say if it is a completed home, but then they don't have a lot of homes in the market that are completed, they're still selling faster, then also the builder may not be willing to negotiate as much on a completed home. So there are, again, I'm just giving so many scenarios, but you get the point, right? So
Yeah.
all of that data analysis will help you, guide the client through the process of negotiation. And you can, tell them what you want to do. For example, if it is a resale home, the first question I ask them is, what is the reason for the sale? Not that I want to know why they are selling, but let's say if they say, hey, the client is moving internationally, what that means is that they're in a rush to sell. Okay. If they say, hey, it's a out of state move, then they have a little bit more rush to sell, not as much as an international move. But if they say if it is an investment home that they're trying to sell, they don't have rush to sell because, they know they want to get, some numbers, right? And also, even if it is an investment home, I'll ask them why they are selling the home, right? Sometimes they may say, oh, they are in a construction business and they want money, they want to cash out of this. Then also they have urgency to sell because they have another business, they want to cash out and they want to use that money, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is you have to ask all these deeper questions with the agent to understand what is the scope for negotiation. All of these questions will help you to go back and talk to the clients about negotiation. Yeah. And when you go through the process as well, there are various layers of negotiation. And negotiation is also a psychological thing. Yeah. So there are various strategies that you can use depending on the response from the builder's agent or from the negotiating agent. So you have to change your response or negotiation strategy based on the response from the other agent. But in a nutshell, this is what I always like to do and get a lot of data and guide them through the process.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Okay. If you don't have any other questions, I will tell you, irrespective of what you are doing right now, think about the next 3 to 5 years, and think about where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years, and don't think about the current scenario. Don't look at, oh, my brokerage is charging $100 right now per transaction, and I want to look for a brokerage for $50. That's not going to help. Think about where you are right now and where you want to be in terms of business as well as your life, right? That's how you should make decisions. Again, that's what is my experience. I never focused on these aspects. Even when I bought my original first home, I didn't negotiate on the credits. I didn't negotiate on all of that. I was focused on what is the value the agent is going to bring to the table. I'll be very honest, that's how I focused. And it always worked really well for me. Even if I hire a CPA, I always look for the best person, the most knowledgeable, because I do think the value they bring to the table is a lot more important and they can save a lot more money for me rather than focused on short-term gains. Yeah. I mean, you guys already know, being in real estate, right, what value each of you can bring to the table and how you can multiply that value is something that you need to think about. Think about a brokerage that will multiply your value, right? That will give you a lot more exposure, that will give you a lot more opportunities for you to expand your income. And whoever you are going with, always think about people who can share information with you. I'll tell you, that is very, very important. It's not about them being the best real estate agent, it doesn't matter. don't focus on those aspects. Again, that definitely helps you for sure because they do a lot more knowledge. I'm not discounting it, but focus on working with people you really enjoy. And again, they don't have to be helping you every day. Nobody can help you every day. Each of you also have a business, but think about who can guide you through the process, who can connect you to people that can help you to grow, right? Connect you to people that can help you to generate that income, right? So focus on that and focus about the next 3 to 5 years and think longer term how you can be, where you want to be. Yeah, that's what has really helped me, and that's what I learned through the process. Right. Hey, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate everyone taking the time and joining this call. I know it's a Sunday morning, and I really appreciate all of your time. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if you have more questions about joining eXp, I'm more than happy to get on a call and talk through your specific scenarios, and we can work out some numbers with respect to your current brokerage, what you're doing versus eXp. We can do all of that, and I can talk about other things that you guys have questions about for your specific scenario. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Chandra, for your time. This is really great.
Yeah. Thank you, Venkat.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chandra.
thanks,
So,
Bhargavi. Thank you,
yeah.
Sunaina. Thank you, Rizwana. Thank you, Shivajyoti, and thank you, Sandeep. Yeah, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Chandra.
Yeah. Bye-bye.